Welcome to the college football playoff party, Oklahoma. They go on the road to Tuscaloosa and not only end Alabama's 8-game win streak, but they snap Alabama's 17-game home winning streak and the first loss for Kalen DeBoer at home in his tenure as the head coach of Alabama. This was a signature Brent Venables type of game. And if you go back and you watch the tape, it was everything that he could have possibly wanted. It was exactly how he probably now he probably wants his offense to have a few more than 212 points or 212 yards. But just knowing him, knowing his personality, the fact that his defense won it, I'm sure brings him great pride and great admiration. It was a fantastic defensive effort. And if you look at it statistically, it was all Bama. 406 total yards to just 212. But it was all about being opportunistic, taking advantage of critical mistakes. And guess what? A lot of people say this sometimes. Sometimes more games are lost than won. And I don't think people totally think about that all the time, right? People usually say, well, hang on a second. If a team lost and the other team won, like it should be 50-50. Well, this was about Oklahoma taking advantage of mistakes. And not everybody could do that, by the way. Now, this is tremendous credit to the Sooners because Bama made mistakes and they capitalized. They cashed those mistakes in for 17 points. Eli Bowen got it started. Signature play there in the first quarter. And this was a pressure that Oklahoma ran throughout. I liked this too from Brent Venables in this plan. They really stuck to what was working. Sometimes guys will say, okay, well, that worked. Let's go on to the next wrinkle, right? No, they kept blitzing Kip Lewis right up the middle. And it worked time and time again, and Alabama really never made the adjustment. They never were able to make the change in their protection, and Kip Lewis had a fantastic game in being able to create pressure, led to a couple critical sacks, but it also allowed for Eli Bowen to break on the interception that was taken to the house. A lot was made of R. Mason Thomas' absence, but Taylor Wine has proven time and time again throughout this season that he is not to be overlooked. And if you look at the sack, he lined up. They had a perfect setup where they had a guy that was on the right tackle and he was super wide. That's what they do with R. Mason Thomas. They get him really, really wide, and it makes it very hard for that tackle to get deep enough and wide enough to block the end man on the line of scrimmage. But Wine's length and power and speed up the field led to that fumble that was huge. Of course, that was then cashed in for a critical game-winning field goal. You also look at Taylor Wine getting a piece of the field goal at the end of half, enormous as well. I don't think that kick was going to go through the uprights regardless, but maybe his presence in the middle did disrupt the kicker's vision as he was looking at the ball. And finally, Tate Sandell. Tremendous performance from him. This guy just continues to be an outstanding weapon. It's like, all right, sounds good. We get to the 38-yard line. We got 3, boys. That's a really comfortable feeling as an offense. It really is. I thought John Mateer had a good game. It was solid. There were a couple misses, but it wasn't a perfect performance by any stretch. There was also a couple drops in this game as well. Satania had one drop in particular there to the right side, which was not a huge play. It would have been 6-7 yard gain, but it stalled a drive. So I thought the offense, there was some good, but there's capabilities of going a little higher because it does look like their quarterback is looking much healthier, more confident, and is becoming the playmaker that we thought he would be after the first 4 games of the season. I also think that the committee needs to factor in with Oklahoma the fact that their quarterback was playing with a broken thumb. And as a result, the offense maybe didn't look so good throughout most of October. I think that will factor in, and I think that will help Oklahoma in the long term when they're evaluating their playoff candidacy. Of course, Oklahoma has 2 home games in front of them. They got Missouri this week. They have LSU the following week to finish off the regular season. They win those 2 games. Not only will they be in the field, but I think in all likelihood, given the strength of schedule, they will be hosting a playoff game at the very worst there in Norman, Oklahoma in December. For Alabama, everything is still in front of them. You can't dwell on the mistakes that were made in this game. This was a very disappointing loss, but if you look at it, and if you're looking at it from an Alabama vantage point, you're sitting there saying, okay, you're able to move the football against a really good defense. You're able to actually I know the numbers won't suggest improvements in the run game, but the run game was a little better for Alabama. And Ty Simpson, the big thing for him, he was really good throughout the first 8, 9, 10 games. There was a lot of really positive moments, but the last couple weeks, there have been a couple misses, just a few misses. And if you look at the pressure that Oklahoma was able to apply, they were able to blitz Alabama on 16 out of Ty Simpson's 48 dropbacks. So about a third of those dropbacks were going against the blitz. Several of those dropbacks, by the way, and several of those blitzes, they had a free hitter, which is a problem. So you got to get that addressed for sure. And if you look at the second half, that's when things really ramped up. You saw the pressure start to go up significantly in the second half. They blitzed on 8 of his 15 dropbacks there in the second half. So they handled it pretty well early, but in the second half, 3 sacks were taken, just 2 completions on 5 attempts. And the off-target throws, I counted 11 in this game. That's not what you're expecting because Ty Simpson has been so accurate, has been so good in taking advantage throughout the first few weeks. But now I think some of that pressure might have gotten to him just a little bit, especially on some of the downfield throws. That's where things can tighten up a hair as well. Everything's in front of Alabama. It just makes the Iron Bowl that much more important. Going on the road, getting a win against Auburn, you can still punch your ticket to the SEC championship game, and you can still obviously get to the college football playoff. So Alabama's still in a very good spot. But this was really more about Oklahoma capitalizing on mistakes and getting themselves in great position to make it to the 12-team playoff.